Welcome to the Foster Youth Museum of Lost Childhoods, put on by the Youth Training Project, which is a project of the California Youth Connection. This museum focuses on the stories of young people who are in institutions like child welfare, juvenile justice, and mental health. And here's a piece of their experience. This first section talks about developmental disruption. Some of the things that are missing from a lot of young people's lives are given in the family structure and American setting. And here you have some of the examples of the basic necessities missing. So you have a homemade pad, not having dental floss when you're in institutions can lead to cavities, which can lead to you not getting job placements for the rest of your life when you don't have teeth. Some people consider that unprofessional. One of the ways in which people experience a lot of trauma in their early childhood is that they experience corporal punishment. Figures like the belt or extension cords are some of the most common stories that young people share of not having a sense of power within themselves to be able to speak out about how they were disciplined as children. And sometimes that's happened in care as well. This is a graphic illustration of one of our former foster youths articulations of how they survived growing up as a young woman in care. This section is called Institutionalization. We have this gown here which is given out to young people when they're in a period of observation within locked facilities and sometimes unlocked facilities. So if you're in mental health or juvenile justice facilities, this is most commonly given. And sometimes at the assessment center they give you sweats and a shirt that has a marking on it. If you were to want to run, you would be identified. And it's a way to take away your personal identity and give you an identity of the institution, that you are now a member of that institution. In this photo is a picture of sort of all those intersections at once, where we have someone who's had the experience of being institutionalized. It's a picture of myself, but also needing the development to go on into adulthood. To have a healthy and long life requires to have mental health that is actually nurtured and fed. So these are some of the artifacts that are most commonly identified by people who have been institutionalized, which is the institutionalized uniform, the shared underwear experiences and how that's not ideal or premium health, the lack of closeness and belonging, sense of belonging with folks when you're in seclusion, and the sort of invisibility that happens when you're in a group home or you're put in this sort of structure as a piece of this machine rather than actually being a part of a family. And so much of that actually includes sometimes they taking out your personal hair, which is a weave, and it's only people who wear weaves are the people who get their weaves taken out. Picture of the group home band. In this section, it's not my section, but he went to talk about this tattoo that he had gotten, which was the only commitment he had ever made up until that point in his life, was that picture. Some of the artifacts of talk about the intersection of handcuffs, self-medicating or coping mechanisms that people use, which is alcohol and drugs sometimes. And sometimes these are prescription drugs, sometimes they're non-prescription drugs. When you mix them with alcohol, however, it has a deafening effect, so that the people also brought up that reminded them of powerlessness. Some of the most common foods that folks in foster care eat are dry milk and top ramen. And you can imagine top ramen is a highly processed food that takes maybe 4 days to digest in your belly. And then dry milk, for mostly foster care, which are people of color, young people are not necessarily able to drink dry milk, and which you have to mix it with water and a whole bunch of other things. Court reports, a lot of times people go to court and not even there. Sleeping bag is a huge foster youth archive or artifact because a lot of young people are homeless. So 40% of the homeless population are former foster youth. And so this is a picture of a young person who was homeless out on the marina right here in the Bay. And in our larger museum, we talk a lot more in depth about homelessness. This part of the museum talks about loss, and what's really striking about this is that anything that young people can hold on to, they're willing to hold on to because that's what makes them get through. So here's a letter from a parent with their father. The only contact they had with their father, they kept it, and they still have it. Here's another piece of leather mail you would get from an institutionalized parent or figure in your life, uncle or aunt. It's the only piece of Monopoly money, only piece of paper that this person had with their grandmother's number on it, and they carry this with them everywhere. They still had it up until the adulthood and post being a youth. This is Sophia. She works with the Youth Training Project and shared a piece of her history of being a former foster youth about not having a sister or not having their siblings with them and having to carry around this bear as a replacement or sort of a way to pacify the belonging that people have when they don't have contact with their family or their siblings in a bio family. For Foster Youth Museum artifacts, you should definitely pick up one of these swagalicious shirts and help all the proceeds go into the museum and help fund the museum to travel around the country more. You also can purchase one of these. Well, there's only one of the last archival prints left. We've already sold two. So hurry up and get it now. You can check us out on these platforms on Twitter, #FY Museum. Like us on Facebook, Foster Youth Museum. And also at fosteryouthmuseum.org. We also have pins and other artifacts for sale.